women are generally corny, yo. Like,
I disagree. There are plenty of women that I enjoy watching, and I enjoy their content, and hers is just not one of them. I'm just like, I was just like they could have picked anybody else, and it would have been better.
what do you think, Hit?
I missed it. What happened?
Do you think is there any good? We was talking about what a Kiki Palmer or whatever, right? And
Yeah.
he was Leifer was saying how Kiki Palmer's corny, and,
I
and
was
to
saying how
me
she was underwhelming. Like
underwhelming.
she lacks talent. Like she's just not supposed to be in the space with the name she's in the space with. And I feel like there's a lot of other people who
Wait,
aren't getting the
who are
shot.
you saying? Who are you comparing her against? Like, who is she in the space with though?
Well, she's in the space with a lot of people. Like if you see her around, she's in a space with even like some of the talk show gigs she get. I'm like, really?
I
Does
don't
she
know.
even have that big of a following? Like
think
who?
she's
Why
corny,
is she in this space?
I think all women are
I,
corny.
well, maybe they all are corny, but she's on a whole different level of just like your talent does not equal where you're at, and I don't know how you get in here. They used to call her jawbones. That's what it is. I don't get it.
What do you think, bro? You think women are corny or what? What do you think? Is there like a female actress or act like somebody that you like? Oh, they're pretty dope.
No.
Oh shit.
Like so for example, like man, I remember like and I got this theory from Corey Holcomb, and he said he was like, I never met a funny female comedian that ain't talking about something raunchy or sex. And I was like, yo, he might be on to something. And I started thinking about it, and he was like, if you don't use that, like there's nothing really interesting about him.
What's
I don't know. I think you got some
He's pretty
few.
funny.
You got some artists, man. I think there's some female artists that's pretty cool. I mean off the top I can't think, but I don't think they
What's
all
the
Wait, he's frozen. He's
what's
frozen
the
with the face
what's
he's
the
making. Do
name?
y'all see him frozen?
Yeah. What's the name? What's the name of that of the lady who plays the sister-in-law on the show with Mike Epps? Because she
Wanda
got a comedy
Sykes?
special out there. Yeah, she got a
Wanda
comedy
Sykes is
special out.
kind of funny, yo.
She got a
Like Wanda
comedy
Sykes,
special out that's pretty dope. And
she's
she
all
don't
right.
talk about none of that sex and
I
all
think
that
she
stuff,
does.
but she's
I think
pretty
she does
dope.
that show pretty well. The one with Mike Epps.
I haven't seen that, but Wanda Sykes, like historically to me, was underwhelming. I was like, who finds this funny? So
No, I
Did you see
mean, I
her
think she's a
Netflix
funny
special?
old lady. You understand what I'm saying?
She's funny for the space that she's in.
She's
You know what I
funny.
mean?
Well, I
She
think she's
matches
funny
her
for
shape.
she's funny for being old. She's not funny as a young. Like she's funny now because it's like it's an old lady. Like, it's kind of like that old lady from Menace, right? She had that one role of being the cool grandma. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what made her you know what I mean? But generally if she wasn't old, she wouldn't be funny. And I think Wanda is getting old and how she's acting at that age is hey, this is a crazy segue. But well, how she's acting as I think that's
she's getting that whole Betty White syndrome going now.
where she just says whatever.
Yeah, she says something outlandish, and he's like, "Yo, an old lady says that."
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's what she's getting into that lane.
All right. Hey, let me start the show. Yo, so I just want to point out this is therapy for us all. Like week in, week out. We look forward to it. Listen,
Fellas, it's gonna be one of them nights.
It's gonna be. I'm telling you. What's up? What's up? What's up? Another Tuesday night at 9. How y'all feeling today, fellas?
Feeling good, feeling great.
Man, let's get rocking and rolling, man. I've been looking at some topics that best, that the world are talking about, especially among, in our sector of men, right? Men talk. And one thing that just kept coming up was domestic abuse. You know what I mean? And it's just like everywhere. And I'm like, why does this keep coming up? Maybe we should elaborate, see how we feel about it. What's our history? Or what's our relationship with it? You know what I mean? I know for me personally, domestic abuse have formulated my life in such a way that I've decided not to do or do, and it's really created a space and molded. It has a huge part of how I was molded. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not sure if you guys have the same kind of experience, but let's dive into it, man. Maybe this might help somebody, right? So somebody jump in first, man. First question: what's your relationship with domestic abuse?
So I can go. So for me, man, I guess as far as my relationship with it, man, like for me, I feel that there's never a good reason for a man to be putting his hands on a woman. That's one. However, and this is personal experience. Um, you can also antagonize a man so much that he'll get out of character and do something to you. And I think that needs to be spoken more about than the end result. Because I've seen that a few times in my actual life. And I'm like, as a kid, like, and I remember like, yo, this ain't right. So with that being said, I can see how somebody can antagonize somebody to get to that point. So granted, keep your hands to yourself, but also, man, quit antagonizing, quit poking somebody to that point. And let's be specific, not letting a person leave when they're trying to leave, putting your hands on somebody and expecting them not to, reciprocate. So those types of things. So if somebody's trying to de-escalate, man, don't put them in a corner to where it becomes fight or flight and you took flight away from them. So with that being said, in this, I don't think this is the politically correct answer, but I think everybody need to keep their hands to themselves.
Go ahead, Lee.
This is a good question because uh, when you think of domestic abuse, mostly folks are thinking more on the physical side of it, but there are emotional and psychological ways to domestically abuse somebody, and so I think about those type of ways too, and I also think about when we talk about domestic abuse, it's always uh, men, you know, in the spectrum of men, domestically abusing women. But man, there are a lot of men who are domestically abused as well, and they don't say anything. You know what I mean? It's not something that, and those that do say it, they kind of get shunned and it's laughed at. So it's not a safe space for men to be able to vocalize their domestic situations. But man, I don't know if I have a direct connection with any domestic abuse. At least I don't remember any. But for me, I piggyback on Mo. Man, I don't think it's a good time ever for anybody to put their hands on anybody. And if you do put your hands on somebody, be prepared for somebody to put your hands on you. And that's just self defense, and you know what I mean, preparing yourself for any conflict. Like I don't think there should be ever a reason that we get to a space where we're putting our hands on each other. I think we should be able to talk it out, and if we can't talk it out, we walk it out. Go to another corner and what I mean, clear your head and get your mind right, because most of the time that stuff is over petty stuff anyway that could be talked out.
So Leifer, when you say men are getting domestically abused and they're not reporting it, I know you said there's different types of abuse. Are you saying that potentially that's physical?
Certainly, I know, I know, I
Wow.
know a lot of dudes that are getting pieced up, like the two piece and a biscuit by
Wow.
by women, and you know what I mean. And they not reporting it. Some I even know
'Cause I
one
saw
guy.
that stat, but I didn't buy it. But okay.
Yeah, yeah. No, I know one guy who got pieced up by his girl. I know he got pieced up by his girl, but at work he telling everybody he got in a fight with these dudes. These dudes jumped him. His girl pieced him up, like. like I know him and I know his girl. So I know I know what happened. He's telling everybody at work, oh yeah, I got these dudes try to jump me, but man, I got them all. No, you didn't, dog. You got
The hitting these lady night class been paid off, huh?
Yo, that's what happened when you mess with a chick 50 pounds bigger than you, man. You gotta stay in your you gotta stay in your weight class.
That
dog.
welterweight out here getting pieced up.
What you got hit?
Yo, this this is for me. I think it hit a little more home because I came up in a household where domestic violence was like what happened a lot. So if guys know Pittsburgh really traditionally like a traditional old school type of city. You know what I'm saying? Especially coming up like early 90s or whatever. So like you would call the police and the woman come out with a busted lip and the police be like, hey, y'all got to keep it down. You know what I'm saying? Like it was that old school way, like kind of like, you know what I'm saying? Hey, y'all just got to keep this in the house type stuff. So yeah, man, growing up, like I seen it, you know what I'm saying, happen. Like, you know what I mean, multiple times. And it affected me because like, you know what I'm saying, it made me say like you seeing your mom being hurt. You have a compassion, you know what I mean, to make sure like you will never do that to a woman, right? But then at the same time, it's still like a learned behavior because you figure like this is how you deal with your problems through violence. You know what I'm saying? And so like for me, like you know what I'm saying, domestically, like I've like even though I came up in a smacker chick, you know what I'm saying, uh I would say like era where it was like that's what you did. Like your chick get out of line, you supposed to put her in check. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what you was told. You know what I mean? I always avoided it. You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, I know understand the experience. I seen the other side of it, and I understand what women go through. You know what I'm saying when that happens. But like to Mo's point, still like growing up and dealing with a certain caliber of chicks, you know what I'm saying? You know, and like people who came from that same thing or hood mentality, like they don't respect dudes if you don't smack them. You know what I'm saying? Like they might think you a sucker because you let them get away with so much, and another dude would have knocked them out. You know what I'm saying? I seen dudes knock his chick out, drag him in the car like a caveman, take her home and knock her down. You know what I'm saying? Like, and they were like, that's what you're supposed to do. Like, that's what we was told. Like, yo, that's what you're supposed to do. This is how, and the women will love you for it. You know what I'm saying? Like I not go too in detail, but like I've seen like what I was a part of something where this chick was just getting crazy about the radio, right? And so I end up like getting her out of the car and kind of like tossing her stuff. And like she really wanted me to hit her. You know what I'm saying? Like, because that's what she wanted. And she really wanted me to hit her. She even kind of said it like, yeah, you supposed to check me, like, da. Like, so, like, domestic abuse is crazy because, like, it's so shunned upon. But, like Mo said, it's kind of put into our culture a little bit. Like, that's kind of like something that was learned. Like, a woman feels like if you're not a man, if you don't do certain things when they do certain things.
So for me,
go ahead.
Oh, I mean, go ahead. You want to elaborate on it? Go ahead.
I mean, I was just gonna say, I had a similar situation. You know what I mean? I think that's like toxic, like extreme toxic woman trait right there. Because I had a situation where I had this female I was cool with or whatever, and we had gotten into an argument, and I don't even remember what the argument was over, but she decided it was a good idea to just haul off and smack the taste out my mouth, and I just looked at her like. I tried to walk away, you know what I mean? And you know what I mean? She kept going on. So I'm like, whatever. So I start talking. She did it again. So now I'm about to leave. And she's like, oh, you ain't going to hit me back? You a sucker. You ain't going to hit me back? Hit me back. And I'm like, yeah, no, this is crazy. You got to go. Like, you're not like, there's no way that situation goes good for me. Like, no way. I'm like, this is crazy. But in her head, like this is how she feel. Like I'm acting up. You need to make me act right. And I'm like, come on, man. That's just But there are people who think like that. You know what I mean?
No, y'all are absolutely right about that, and I don't understand it, and I don't think we ever will truly understand why women do that kind of thing, right? I know for me, I kind of grew up hearing about it. I wasn't raised in a domestic, domestically abused home. I grew up only child, no, nobody, just me and my mom. And she really didn't have like any men around. But I heard the stories on how traumatized my mother was from growing up like that, right? I don't necessarily, I didn't necessarily know. All I knew was I'm not gonna grow up and put my hands on a woman. You know what I mean? Because I hear about, oh, your granddad this and your dad did this, and you know what I'm saying. And you're like, dang, like these men are really abusing like these women like that. And it wasn't until I started getting older and dealing with my own situations, and I'm starting to call my dad like, hey, like what truly happened with this situation? Because I'm dealing with something weird here, and this don't look right. You know what I mean? Or even getting stories from my grandfather because he would teach me how to like do stuff with him. So riding around with him, to different jobs, and I'm having these conversations, and he's like, "Man, I didn't do all that like that. Like this is what happened." You know what I mean? And like you said, Mo, it was the antagonized part of it. You know what I mean? And if there's one thing I really want to address, man, and get our opinion by the end of the show is how to handle being antagonized. You know what I mean? And what are some good ways we can go about getting over those hurdles? Because those are hard things to really conquer, man. People lose a square all the time, and that's basically what that is, right? You're losing your square. But it's nothing to really play with. It's really a skill that you have to hone in if you're a man. And uh I kind of lost train of thought, but um man, so I'm gonna edit that out. But to take a step forward, right? How we said it's normally like men who's in charge of this or whatever. Who's responsible for controlling the domestic abuse narrative? Who would y'all say?
Men, men.
Nah, I wouldn't
I would
just
say
say
men.
men, dog. I think that's a mutual. That should be a mutual partnership. Like it's two people. It take two people to fight. You know what I'm saying? Like it's. I think that's a mutual. I think it's always put on the man, and that's why it becomes like a man issue. But I think there's like certain like women know how to push your buttons a certain way, especially if you've been with them for a while. You know what I'm saying? They get a reaction out of you, and some women like push that button. You know what I mean? Because they want to see if you snap, if you really love them. Like you know what I'm saying? Because some will think if you beat them, you really love them. But I just think like not just to put on women. I think men own a part of it, and so does the women. Like if you look at that whole Ray Rice situation, right? She played just as big as role in as he did. You know what I'm saying? In that situation, she could have de-escalated just as well as he. You know what I'm saying? I think that was a share. Even and she even later on admitted it. Like you know what I mean? Like I even though nobody wanted to hear it, but you know what I mean? I think it's a shared part. I think that's a shared thing, man. It shouldn't be just one person in that situation.
I think it takes two people to tango, and it take one person to whoop a ass. And in this situation, when we talk about domestic violence, and typically it's an emotional situation, right? And women are typically more emotional. So in those situations, they might be acting more out of their emotions. So I'm always put it on the man to be able to de-escalate the situation because the man is typically more logical. So if he could detach himself from his emotions of the situation, then he could control the situation. And that's like that's something I've been like learning more and more every day. It's like I can control all this mess that go on or that happened in my life as long as I control me. You know what I mean? But the moment I lose control of myself is the moment I lose control of the situation, and everything spirals downhill from there because she can escalate and escalate and escalate. And as long as I don't bite, and as long as I don't engage or go in and allow that to affect my emotional state, then I can control the situation. So that's why I say I put it on the man because I think the man has a better opportunity at controlling his emotions in order to take control of the situation.
Absolutely, I agree, and especially with the double R thing, right? It's more of a situation of he had more to lose than she does. We always generally have more to lose. You know what I mean? And we're at jeopardy of the going to jail. We're at jeopardy of losing our job. We're at like they're necessarily not in jeopardy of those things. And being that he was the breadwinner, you know what I mean? She don't understand what it took for him to get everywhere he had to get to. You know what I mean? She's just going along for the ride. So she'll definitely put that at put that at risk. And I think it's more men's it's more men control to make sure you pick the right one to have when you're going through your journey that's not going to mess you up. You know what I mean? I think that's a huge thing of okay, this one's nuts. She's going to get me in jail. Blah 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 blah. I can't pick a woman that's going to mess up my program or allow anybody to get in the space where they can mess up my program. You know what I mean? So it's like hanging out with the wrong crowd. Like you don't got no business hanging out in the streets when you're a professional dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think you're taking all the ownership off the other party though. Like that's what I feel like. I feel like you absolving them of they can behave however you want, but it's up to us to remain at what I'm saying in charge and remain, what I'm saying, on our square. I don't think that's
Absolutely.
fair. I
It's
don't think
not.
that's
It's not
fair.
fair, but I think it's our role. I think it's our job as a man to pick that up.
But 80% of the dudes slip because of that. Like you can't own all that, dude. You're still a person. You're still a human, and you when you mix emotion and testosterone, dog, that becomes something different, right? That becomes a violent situation. So you're sitting there being poked and poked, and you know what I'm saying. You're trying to avoid something. Like I seen a guy like in an apartment complex. I don't know whatever they was fighting about. She chased him outside and he was trying to leave. He's trying to leave. She gets behind his car. He maneuvers, da da da. Then she end up hitting the car with a brick. Dude jumps out of the car. Is like, "Yo, this is what you wanted." Wow, knocks her out. Right. Then she goes running into the house. He's running behind her, saying that this is what you wanted, right? This is what you wanted. So like that dude was trying to exit the situation, and he still couldn't. Right. And he finally snapped. That happens to a lot of guys. Like there's a percentage of guys that do abuse women. They got issues. And there's a bigger percentage of men that get into a situation where it just escalate, and they finally just lost it. I think it's both parties, man. It's not for us we're still human, dude. Like we can't always be in control, no matter what.
As human as we may be, I think that's a skill that you have to get control of. Like you can't necessarily consider yourself a man if you don't have that part of you in the raps. You know
All
what I
right,
mean?
so you're a big Bible guy, right? Right.
Yeah, yeah.
And it said somewhere, I can't quote it, but it was like a man can only run from temptation because he can't resist it, right? So like if you know what I mean, that you're married, you don't go to somebody's house 12 o'clock at night and be sitting there drinking with them, right? Because I don't care how controlled you are as a man, that the temptation of that shit might be overwhelming and you're gonna make a mistake. So you don't put yourself in that predicament because once you in it, it's really hard to not go either way with it. Would you
Absolutely.
agree?
I
So
agree.
that's the same thing. I'll be the same scenario if you're in a situation where it could be violent, right? If somebody's poking, no matter how strong you are, how strong-willed you are, you may slip. It
You
just
may
happens.
slip, but I mean, it's your responsibility to get on out the way. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you got more to lose than the other party do. You know what I'm saying? Like generally, a man has more to lose. So women that don't have nothing that has something to lose typically don't act like that. You know what I'm saying? But when they don't have nothing to lose, I think me and Mo talked about it earlier. It's class like they don't belong in your class. You know what I mean? So if you're a certain caliber guy, you shouldn't be around the caliber that's going to jeopardize your livelihood, jeopardize your freedom. You know what I'm saying? You got to get completely out the way. We say it all the time. Stand out the way. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of how I go about it. And you got to put those measures of, oh, this is going to get me in trouble. This might get me in trouble. Leifer does it all the time. He don't even go out because he's like, I don't even want to jeopardize me being in a situation where I have to snap. You know what I'm saying? That's like anytime I've asked him to go out, he always said, I don't want to jeopardize me snapping, so I'm staying home. You know what I mean? And I think that's being control of your environment and understanding what you're capable of doing and getting out the way and not dealing with certain people at whatever times. Go ahead, Mo, chime in.
So with this, man, this hits really close to home for me. So I'm gauging how I want to tell this, but with that being said, man, I think everybody's kind of, they're touching on it, but I mean, I would hope, hopefully, like, we're all dealing with adults, so we can't take responsibility away from an adult to have autonomy over themselves. Like, you can be emotional, but you can't physically harm me. You can't do something that's against the law to me. But even with that being said, me being in control of myself, how you were saying about Leifer, man, I'm totally the same way in that, man, I try to keep myself out of those situations because, like, it's certified. Like, I can literally go there. I've gone there early in my life, and because of that, man, I got put in some situations to where I was like, I'm never gonna do this again, because not because I have so much to lose, but I just know I have two sides to me, and I'm like I never want a problem, but it's not a problem when there's a problem for me. But with that being said, I just try to keep myself away from those scenarios. Like, so for example, let's say, because we're talking about domestic life, it comes to dealing with a woman. I could love you. If you take me to the point where I'm ready to do something bad to you like that, we're done. Consider this a breakup today, because we're done. So if you're the type of woman that thinks that, oh, well, you were supposed to discipline me, I don't deal with children. Like, if you can't discipline yourself and you can't govern yourself to where you're not going to take me there, I don't want any parts of you. So that doesn't take the responsibility away from them. What it does is I'm governing myself, and I'm taking myself totally out of that situation, because once I go, I can't say what I'll do. That's kind of scary, to be honest, to know that you can potentially lose control and not be able to govern yourself. And for me, that's one of the reasons why I don't really drink. That's one of the reasons why I don't really go out in a whole bunch of scenarios where it's people that I don't know, because at the very least, I'm like, okay, I don't like surprises at any point in my life. So anytime there's a surprise, I get uncomfortable. And when I get uncomfortable, I feel in danger. And then if I feel in danger, I get dangerous. So with that being said, I'm not taking any accountability away from that other person, because they're an adult. Let's not say, and to your point where you're saying, well, they don't have anything to lose, because of the narrative that we give them in our society right now, they never have anything to lose, because we're always putting it all on us. And I think we have the responsibility to change that narrative. Like, no, you don't have the autonomy to bust out my windows. You don't have the autonomy to slash my tires because I did something that hurt your feelings. No, you don't have that. You don't have that right. So with that being said, they still have the responsibility to govern themselves, and we have to do the same.
So I have this point all the time, right? And on other pods where it's like, they can't, expecting them to be responsible is they can't do it. I don't think they can truly do it. So expecting
because
them
there's
to
no consequences.
Yeah, but expecting them to ever take on that consequence, or that, that responsibility, that accountability, it's never going to happen. So how long are we going to sit here and be like, well, they got to do this, they got to do that? It's never going to happen.
Yo, so you saying
hold them accountable, Will?
But you got
sure.
you got women that are great lawyers and doctors and judges and politicians. They can balance all this right over here, right? They can hold your life in their hands, but you're telling me they're not responsible for provoking or de-escalating the situation? Come on, son. That don't even make that doesn't even make sense.
It don't make sense. It makes absolute it makes absolutely no sense. But we've all dealt with professional women. You know what I'm saying? We've dealt with lawyers, we dealt with doctors, we dealt with nurses, we dealt with everything you just named, right? And when it comes to, there's a difference between handling your emotions and being able to read a book. Like, are they intelligent? No, they're not stupid. They're intelligent people. But when it comes to them controlling emotions, they can't do that, unless the only time I see them control that, if they have something to lose, whether it be that career. But I've seen lawyers lose it. I've seen doctors lose it. I've seen nurses lose it. Like, I've seen the thought pattern not match up to their profession. I don't think they can control it. And like I said, expecting them to do that once you put them in that situation, I just don't think it's very productive. You know what I mean? I think we all, regardless of where we're at and dealing with whoever on whatever totem pole, we have to have that control at all times.
So you put that same expectation. So you absolve them of all the responsibility, and you shift all the expectations on a man to go through whatever he has to go through. Like Mo said, you got your car busted out that you paid for, the tires you just put on slashed. You know what I'm saying? Your house is being destroyed, and you're supposed to just be like, "Yeah, I have this is all on me." Like I gotta do it.
Yes, and I expect you to understand to not put yourself in that situation in the first place. That's where it really starts.
I didn't know the beat was crazy. I didn't know you.
But you have to. You did.
I didn't know
you did.
But you got to be extra aware. You got to be extra aware of that, man. Like,
but she was a lawyer. She went to school for 10 years.
But right? that doesn't prove. I understand that. Why? That's a man's thinking. Like this person. Oh, you do this, you do that. Then that means it applies across the board, and it doesn't. Like they are who they are in those emotional realms. They don't have control over that.
So what's the crazy thing?
So I got to push back, and I don't agree with that at all. So for those that know, like I've been in that, I've had all the different flavors of this, right? But with that being said, and I remember I used to tell them this. I said, "Hey, don't say or do nothing to me that you wouldn't do to your boss." And that always once I put that in them, they knew you could do whatever you want on your last day. So yeah, you jump out the window and you do whatever you want. Just know that's your last day. And they always held themselves accordingly. And that's really the way it went. So if you because without accountability, and there's like when if you have no chance of getting hurt in a situation, you're willing to do anything. When there's accountability and there's going to be possible repercussions and consequences for your actions, that's when they start to think about, oh, he might beat me. Oh, I may lose him. And if you're the type of man that they value enough to not want to lose, they're going to act accordingly.
And I'll piggyback off that and also say, man, I think they act as, certain women act a certain way in a comfortable situation. So if they comfortable with you, you know what I mean, and they know certain things about you, they might act a certain way. They might act up a certain way, but you can see them in certain situations out in public or wherever they're at. And when those same things arise and those same emotions come out, they can put them at bay. They can hold them back. So, I mean, it's definitely there. I just think in certain situations, the emotions are heightened and the comfortability is way more and the uncertainty is way less. When they out here, the uncertainty is like, oh, I might get knocked out. So let me just shut up. And if they are certain that you ain't going to do that and they're comfortable with you, they'll let all of that stuff out. But, like Mo said, there's got to be some standards set there. There's got to be boundaries set, and there has to be repercussions for your actions in order for that to be held at bay.
Yo, I got a question, and this is for Leifer and Vic, because you guys both comment. It said I'm supposed to know she's crazy. So what is the official crazy test?
Hey, I was really about to say that was the next question, bro. Because you asked it, I'm like, all right, fellas, let's kind of help him out on how he can pick out some crazy things. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it's
I got you. I got you.
Look, so for me, I'm always looking for signs and symptoms of emotional trauma that somebody might be off the scale. You know what I'm saying? I mean, of course, I've dealt with it and I can kind of see a little bit more. You know what I mean? But right off the top, though, I'm looking for like somebody's like ability to stay calm when they're in a situation. You know what I'm saying? Do they panic? Do they scream a lot? Do they get out of pocket? Do they do little sly stuff like little comments at you? You know what I mean? That you be like, that was slick. You could tell when somebody being slick with you. You know what I mean? Especially a woman like Like, come on now. So it's when you pick out that little stuff, you know what I'm saying? You could just they'll tell you for the most part that they're nuts. I don't really think they can hide it. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I'll let Leifer and Mo go.
I mean, I think the same way, but I think that goes both ways, man. You could tell there's certain telltale signs, you get with being around somebody and see how they act in certain situations, and you know what I mean, just see how they carry themselves, see how they react to certain things you say, see how they react to certain things other people do. You know what I mean? See how they talk about other people when they with you, and how they, you know what I mean. If they talk about other people when they with you and then be with them the next day, you know what I mean? You can start picking up on different signs of like, okay, yeah, there's something else going on here. Or just like one thing for sure to let me know somebody was loose is like out of nowhere they started crying, but then they were laughing, but then they were crying. And I was like, you don't even know what you're feeling right now. Like your emotions is all over the place. Like you're laughing and crying at the same time. And like it was just like we were having a conversation and there was a break in the dialogue, and then out of nowhere it was just like a laugh cry type of thing, and I was like, oh yeah, I don't know what the heck is going on, she got to go. But yeah, stuff like that, man, it's just like it's definitely red flag where it's like, okay, you need to get yourself out of that situation, or get away as fast as possible. And there might even be more subtle things that you could pick up on. It's just like, okay, yeah, like somebody who sleeps with a knife under their pillow or something like that. I've had one that did that, slept with a knife under their pillow and walked around with like a, not even like a pocket knife or whatever, but a butter knife in their purse. I'm like, oh yeah, this is nuts. So
all right, it's Toxic King time. Look, this is previous life. This isn't currently, but so man, I like to apply pressure. I like to simulate a lot of these things in order to get the type of, to see kind of how they react to adversity. One of the things that I used to do, or I used to see be done, is like, let's say somebody's coming to the crib, like y'all might have had good dialogue, whatever. When they text you, I'm here or whatever, take a long time to, leave them in the driveway for a little while, see how they respond to having to wait. If they start honking the horn and disrupting the neighborhood, hey, wrong house, go away, sorry, hey, something came up. You know what I mean? If you're actually out, valet situation. Man, I'm having an issue with valet, man. I left my wallet, whatever. Hey, would you mind? Da da da. Oh, girl, and if they pop off, I'll be like, nope, you're too volatile. So just little things like that, man. I like to simulate. And people could call it, shit test, whatever you want to call it, but I like to simulate that stuff before it's real. I like to simulate kind of how they act when emotions are high, or when there's they have some skin in the game. And generally that's when you kind of see, oh, this person, they don't handle adversity well. This ain't somebody, and I always say, like, I don't trust somebody until I see how they dealt with adversity. I don't trust them until I've seen how they react, because everybody can put their representative out there and give you all the politician answers. But when I see when the emotions are high, and when it's time for you to actually go about the business of life, because things are going to come up, specifically in a relationship, because it's two separate people. But whenever that comes up, that's when you can actually see where they stand, where they are mentally, and how stable they are. And, everybody has a breaking point, so you don't hold that against them. But at the same time, you have to know where your standard is and like, hey, that's too much for me. It's a no, go that way.
Hey, you give somebody the wrong address or the wrong directions. That's an easy way to. They'll lose it.
On Lee Road.
Yo, they will lose it. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of people will lose it if they got the wrong direction and panic. If she leaves her femininity, like if she's lost and doesn't call you would still call you with a soft voice, she's nuts. Like, period. Like, you know what I mean? Like, she's nuts.
Look, you know this story. N-words be broke. Remember that?
Yeah. But that's anybody though. If you give them the wrong directions and they're lost and they call you and they're not like, yo, like calm about getting directions from you, yo, they lost, they gone. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I like that test, yo. Like, I like that test, yo. What?
Wait a
What?
minute, hold on. I'm confused. Hold on. So she got the wrong directions and she don't get mad, then she's crazy. But the ones
No,
that
if she
get
do get,
mad
if
is
she do
good.
get mad, like if she
It's
doesn't, if
her
she
Okay.
calls
response
you,
to it.
if she responds, if she calls you like, hey, I can't find the house, blah 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 blah. Like, if she's still soft with you in trying to get directions and trying to get things corrected, that's a good one. But if she's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
oh, I can't believe you got me out here, blah 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 blah. I don't
You
even
owe
know
me
where I'm at.
$13 for gas.
Yeah,
Keep going.
just wilding. Yeah,
Go home.
that might be one you don't want to come to your crib, yo. Like, you know what I'm saying? But I don't want to just make it like, because I think a lot of men too are like volatile like that is in the same space. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, there's plenty of volatile men that are like, dang, bro, like you
Facts.
lost, you off the Richter scale, like, you know what I mean? And I'm sure we've dealt with plenty of them, but I had to like,
Yep.
no, you can't be. I had to take them dudes out. Like, you can't be
So
around.
what I found, there's a lot of people that's out here on the spectrum that just haven't been diagnosed. And you know what I mean? Like, so you out here and you like, yo, that's a weird reaction to something. It's because like they're on the spectrum, and especially coming from our generation, like being autistic or whatever, like that stuff might not have been diagnosed. So man, the fact that people was like off, leave them alone. Don't just, oh, the strong silent type. No, man, that dude got autism. Like, and that's for the women. Like, hey, still, like, hey, if it don't feel right, leave it alone immediately. So like those flags are there, and your intuition is there for a reason. So like I said, it's not just about the women, like for the men as well, man. Like, hey, make before you put somebody in your space and before you put somebody in proximity to potentially have you vulnerable, man, like test them out. Make sure that they're stable enough to be around your be in your space.
Leifer, you froze. So I kind of want to dive into dealing
Oh,
with.
son, I can't go.
Go ahead, my bad.
Let me eat, man. Please
Speak on
appreciate
it.
it, my brother. Because I know about crazy. I know about crazy women too, son. I'm gonna tell you some stories, man. I can go say how much time we got left. You know what I'm saying? I can take the whole thing up,
We could
dog.
be
Like,
here all night.
y'all, I'm trying to tell you, man, one after another. I thought something was wrong with me, son, for a minute, man. But know what I'm saying? I'm gonna tell you what it is, though. This is the biggest mistake men make, dog. And we say it all the time, son. You can't think with your little head. You know what I mean? And the biggest thing for me, honestly, the mistakes I made was all alcohol related, because alcohol helps you like diminish things like those red flags like that you hear. Like so one time I'm talking to this girl, we're sitting in the house, I'm talking to her, and I have a standardized questions. Like I learned this from interviewing. Like in the interview questions, they really don't really like it don't really ask a lot, but it does at the same time, because it gets you to go into your experiences, right? And your experiences is going to, you know what I'm saying, is going to play a major role in who you are and what you're going to do. So I asked about experiences like family history, growing up, and like how they act at work, like how's work with stuff like that, tells you a lot about them as a person, right? So I'm talking to her, but I'm sitting there drinking. So she starts talking and she started going into like way deep into some stuff. And I was like, damn, she might be crazy. I poured some more deli on, took another shot, was like, man, I'm going to hit this anyway, though. You know what I'm saying? And she ended up, I had the same number for the last like 20 years. And that was the first time I'm about to change my number. Like I was being harassed, I was being stalked. And I said, damn, man, I knew she was crazy. But it was the intrigue of the sexual part. You know what I'm saying? That overrode, you know what I'm saying, reason, but it had to do with alcohol, son. So like anybody listen out of there, go on a date, do not drink no alcohol for the first few days, right? And really sit down and talk. I think we don't talk anymore. Like actually sit down and talk to this person. And then that's how you kind of get those flags like, something might not be right here. Something might be missing. And you can kind of gauge it and get a better understanding, because I'm telling you, when it goes bad, it goes bad. You know what I'm saying? You be in an Airbnb body slamming and trying to figure out, you know what I'm saying, Like they'll be trying to fighting for your life up in that joint, son. That's a whole nother story I could tell again, but like I said, son, yo, alcohol, cut it. Like cut the alcohol. But go ahead, son. Now we go to the next question.
I want to talk a little bit about protecting our loved ones, and getting involved and not getting involved with domestic situations, man. And what's appropriate? I know we all had plenty of situations where this, somebody we love was dealing with somebody that was out of order,
Do
and now we
not
got to.
get involved with domestics ever. That is my golden rule. Never get involved with domestics because you'll end up being the enemy. They gonna end up kissing and making up, and now they fighting you. So now never get involved in domestics. You see domestics, walk away. You either call the police, or you say, "Hey, yep, y'all better chill," or I'm calling them. Call the police, and you keep it moving. Do not get involved with domestics because that's like best friends. If somebody was to get involved with us, shoot, we've been fighting since we was 12. So and somebody get involved with us, they end up getting jumped. You know what I mean? So that's why I say just stay out of domestics, man. Now, if it's even if it's one of your loved ones, man, I've had domestic situations that I didn't witness, I didn't see, I heard about. And it was like in my head, I'm like, man, I'm ready to go smash this dude. You know what I mean? But then next week they back together. So it's like, you know what I mean? I'm finna go over here and risk my life, possibly get shot, killed, whatever. You know what I mean? Not knowing what's happening over there. And then next week you back together. You know what I mean? It happens again. Thinking the same thing. A few weeks later, they back together. That's what I say. Stay out of domestics because you know what I mean? 90% of the time they go back to the abuser. And you're looked at as the problem.
No, I had a sister, man, and I actually like ran down on some dudes, like, but it all depends on, I think, the severity and the level of the incident. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times those same type of dudes take the path of least resistance. So if they think that there's no consequences for it, or there's no, because she was dealing with a guy that didn't know she had 3 other brothers. You know what I'm saying? And didn't understand, like didn't know he when every time he came around, it was nothing but women. So he figured that it was cool for him to behave a certain way because there wasn't no resistance. You know what I'm saying? So I think like sometimes it is needed, just because that kind of you know what I'm saying, helps that situation. Like you said, that she's probably gonna go back to him, but now like you might want to think of another avenue other than that, because if you do, there might be some consequences to it. And so I think you had to gauge that. But my ex-brother-in-law, I still call him my brother-in-law to this day, me and him is tight because he never jumped into it. Like no matter what was going on between us, he always would come and just say, "Hey, listen, I'm just helping her get her stuff. I'm not involved in it. You know what I'm saying? I'm just here for her to support her." And I respected it because that's his people. You know what I'm saying? I respected how he moved with it. And to this day, we good. But I think sometimes like it is needed. Now I would say every situation, but certain situations you gotta let them know, like, hey, listen, like you might want to rethink what you're doing because there could be some consequences to like how your behavior. So like we said in the beginning, you might want to just find that square and stay on it.
So, man, I think I'm somewhere in the middle between Leifer and Hit Me. One thing about me, man, for the most part, man, everybody that knows me, whenever they have a problem, they come to me, and that's okay. But with that being said, I'm not the guy you come to vent. When you come to me, like I said before, like you can do whatever you want on your last day. When I'm coming, I'm coming. This is it. You know that, right? So, but with that being said, man, but there also has to be a certain level of standard set in the beginning. So, for example, I would like to have a conversation prior to emotions running high and then we have a catastrophe. Hey, listen, the time to talk is too late after y'all already went to fisticuffs. I don't want to talk after that. So keep that in mind. So I beg you, please don't put your hands on my people. Send her back to me, please. And to my people, don't put your hands on nobody and force their hand to want to put their hands on you. So with that being said, I mean, you want to install smoke detectors, but I also know how to put out a fire too. So I mean, it goes both ways. But with that being said, I mean, I don't really want to get in the middle of any of that anyway, because I don't, like, hell, from previous questions, I don't want to even be in it in my own situation. So I damn sure don't want to get into it for somebody else's. But with that being said, I don't have no problem with saving my people, if that makes sense. Like, because I mean, a person put themselves in a situation where they feel like there's no one's coming to save them, or the potential aggressor feels ain't nobody coming to do nothing to me, or ain't nobody about to push my aggression back. Then they feel they could just do whatever they want. So there has to be a happy medium. But I do think there needs to be a certain standard set prior to when everybody's head is calm, and you could say, listen, hey, I'm not going for any of that fisticuffs, and that's on both sides. When that happens, the time to talk's over. Whatever y'all said, I hope it was worth it, because y'all done now. Once I pull up, it's over. Y'all done. If I'm moving stuff out the crib, ain't no, oh, well, we back together now. Nah, it's over.
Yeah, so, I think you can relate that to, I guess I'm gonna ask you, Mo, since you already at, is it the same? Would you have the same thing, like, I guess the same restraint if it was your daughter and not just a family member?
Yes. Yes. And the reason I say that is because, one, I would imagine my daughter's she's gonna have more of that front end prevention. She's gonna have more smoke detectors than me having to come put out a fire, because I'm gonna ingrain this in her from the day she's been born. Don't you put your hands on somebody and make me go to jail. So that like that's what I remember. I watched a movie with her one time, and it kind of came out like it was part of that or whatever. And I always said, I was like, hey, if you was to ever get pulled over, don't you go and do nothing crazy like that, and fighting with the police or whatever, and make them have to do something to you and have me get locked up or get whatever. So like I'm ingraining that in her. Like, I'd much rather put up smoke detectors than have to come fight a fire. So yeah, I would have that amount of restraint, because for me, man, my circle of people that I would go and jump out the window for is small. And for the most part, it's about the same for those people.
Here's a question though, right? What if one of those people in your immediate circle, right? You're teaching them how to put up the smoke detectors. And they're like, nah, I'm not installing none of that. Your love for them don't change. You understand what I'm saying? So if your daughter, you're teaching her how to put up smoke detectors, right? And she's like, I ain't putting up these smoke detectors. She's putting them in a box and sitting them in the corner. You know what I mean? And still expects you to come put out the fire. How do you respond then, right? Because the next question, I'm gonna let you answer that. Mm-hmm. But the next question is, how do we introduce this to our children? How to prevent or see this situation and recognize red flags, right? Because we are prototype dads. But go ahead and get it started.
Right. So with that being said, and it probably sounds harsh, but it is what it is with me. If I give you this advice about fire detectors and stuff like that, and you're not putting batteries in them and you're putting them in, you get a lot less of a response from the fireman, because you didn't do what I needed you to do on the front end. And there's a good chance that I'm already kind of pushing you out of that circle, because I can't protect you if I don't have authority over you and I don't have influence over you. I can't protect you.
Go ahead, Lee.
Yeah. And that is a key piece right there. Goddamn, Mo. You've been saying a lot of stuff that I agree with. I like that. But that not having a certain amount of control, really inhibits the protection. Like, and I don't think that women get that. You know what I mean? And I don't, because I have this conversation at all. It's like, oh, you're controlling. You and this, you want to control everything. I'm like, but you want protection. and I can't protect what I can't control. If I say go left and you go right, I can't protect you over here. I sent you where I knew it was safe, where I had safeguards, where I already knew what was going on, and you decided you wanted to go right. And now you want me to come save you on the back end once you defied me. I'm like, I can't protect you unless you listen to my guidance. You know what I mean? I can't. And that's what, like, that is real, man. I've been having those conversations a lot, and it's not really like it's going in one ear and not the other, so to speak.
Yeah, I'm not
like,
your attack dog or your crash dog.
Yeah, you can't just call me in after you decide the heck what you say, you're being oppressive, I'm going to do what I want to do, and now, oh, I messed up, can you come save me? No, I'm not Superman. Oh, I'm not Captain Save-A-Ho. Listen, I told you this on the front end to spare you from this. You decided you wanted to do it, so hey, go on head over here with Scruff McGruff from Chicago, Illinois, because I can't help you no more. I'm done, you know. But yeah, to that point, like, seriously, it's crazy to think that, you know what I mean, how things can escalate so much to where, you know, in these domestic situations, to where you're like, you know, are you going to stay here or are you not going to stay here? Because the moment, and I think everybody in my family knows, everybody that I care about knows, much like Reese, if you call me, I'm the action guy. Like, you don't call me because you want to vent and you want to go ahead and you want to complain and you want to go through all this, and then you want me to say, you're okay, baby, go on ahead and pray about it. No, the moment you tell me is the moment I'm putting a plan of action to play. And it's like, don't call me. And everybody knows that. They don't call me unless they want that action. You know what I mean? So it's like, I try to make sure I'm talking to people to stay away from these situations, because the moment we get to this space, it's done. There's no coming back from that. Once you call me,
I'm break glass in case of emergency. That's it.
That's it. I'm not your little girlfriend. Don't call me to complain. When you call me, I'm expecting action. You know what I mean? When you call me, I'm assuming you've exhausted all other options and I'm the last one. And if you call me, now I'm coming to take care of the problem. You can't go back to the problem after this. This is done. This is it over here. You know what I mean? So that's like, yeah, I don't know. But that's why I stay away from domestics, because oftentimes after you went over here and you went to the extreme, now, oh, baby, you okay? And now they trying to go back to it, and now you over here, you're the enemy, you know?
Go ahead, chime in.
I guess just to address the part of the question where how do we teach our children? I think we need just to be the examples. It's growing up in the household where, you know, violence was the answer to everything. That's how you handled your situation, was either verbal or mental, or verbal or physical abuse. I think I made an effort into not having that around my children and showing them there's a different way to do things. It's a different way to handle things. And so if my daughter gets in a situation with a guy and he's behaving in a way that she's not used to seeing a man behave, then that's her smoke detector. You know what I'm saying? That's her red flag. But you know what I'm saying? On the other side, if I do act that way, then she think, okay, this is how a guy's supposed to talk, or this is how a guy's supposed to act because I seen my dad do it. So I think it's really like, listen, we gotta be, you know what I mean? We gotta be what we want from them, right? We gotta be the example of what we want. And the same with my son, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want him to see me beating his mom, and so he feel like when he get his woman, he has to do that in order, you know what I mean, to maintain his dominance over her. You know what I mean? He don't know how to do it mentally, or just, you know what I'm saying, be that man. He gotta beat it on her, and sometimes that's what happens. So I think, man, just being that example. You know what I mean? Understanding that who's your audience and what you're trying to do. I think that's bigger, because a lot of that, the stuff that, you know, being putting out the fires, right? Being a firefighter is a result of us missing, you know what I mean, the prep work. You know what I mean? But I just know for me, for sure, if it's my daughter, you know what I mean, I'm gonna ride. Like regardless of the situation, regardless of it, I'm right. You know what I'm saying? Because I mean, this is how we're built. You know what I mean? So, like, okay, this guy told me this scenario, right? He said you and your girl is walking down the street, and it's a gang of guys at the corner, right? Right, and they all got guns. You don't have one. And as you walking past, the guy smacks your girl on the butt, right? What do you do? Right. And so you kind of be like, oh man, I this, and other. He said, all right, same scenario. You're going down the street, same guys, same place. The dude smacks her butt, but it's not your girl, it's your daughter. I said, oh shit, I'm ready to die. That's it. You know what I'm saying? So I think when it comes to like your children, I mean your daughter, I'm it's me, I'm different. But I think, man, the prep work for that is just like, hey, man, we got to be that example, dude. We gotta understand when we're talking on the phone to women, like we need to talk to them a certain way. We need to deal with the problems a certain way because you know what I'm saying. They're soaking everything up that we do.
To an extent.
So
You know
so
what
to
I
push
mean?
back on that scenario, so on that scenario where you're walking down the street or whatever, right? I get it. I totally get it. However, and this is something that I'm training my daughter on. It's okay to go across the street. Don't walk through danger. You don't have to walk through the gauntlet. It doesn't make you any less of a woman. It doesn't make that man any less of a man. Hey, there's danger if we stay down this side of the street. Hey, babe, why don't we go across? And that's whether it's my old lady or my daughter. Why don't we go across the street where it's a lot more safe? Because again, I don't know. I might crash out. Like you said, I might be ready to die with both of them. I just never know. So I try to keep myself away from it because it's not worth it. Either way, like I'm gonna wake up and see Jesus and be like, I shouldn't have did that. Walk across the street, man. Look, at the end of the day, what I used to always say when I used to go out, I'm going home. At the end of the day, I'm going home. I don't know if you are, but I'm always going home.
No, I don't think. Okay, I don't think walking down the street was an option. Walking across the street was. It was just like based on how you feel.
It's always an option. It's always an option.
Always an option. Even turning around, going a different way, is an option. And that's what I was thinking about the whole time. It's like, why are you walking through a gang of freaking guys that got guns and they got guns? That's dumb as hell because I'm way too observant of my environment, whether I'm with my girl, whether I'm with my homeboys, whether I'm with my daughter. I'm not going down there. Like, let's go a different direction. Like, this is not the right direction. And like Reese said, I'm going home. I'm making it home every night. That is the goal. Everything else is obsolete if I don't make it home. I'm going home. I'm making it home. I got people who like rely on me to make stuff happen. So I'm making it home. Secondarily, all that be the example stuff is cool. And I say it too, and I believe it to an extent. But oftentimes, you ain't the example they looking for. Oftentimes they looking for other examples. So you can be the best example as you can be, and your daughter could think you soft. Your daughter could think you're a coward. Your daughter could think you ain't smooth. Your daughter could think you ain't shit. And she looking at, Scruff McGruff from Chicago, Illinois. And she wants to follow him. You know what I mean? She thinks he's cool. He's got all the girls. He's know what it is. You know what I mean? While dad is single. Or dad is miserable mom. You know what I mean? So you might not be, you could try to be an example all you want, but she might not be the example. You might not be the example she or he want to follow. So it don't always matter. You could be the best version of you could possibly think of, but outside people are always going to be an influence. And that's the stuff that you got to look out for. Because it's like, you can't combat that. You know what I mean? There's a moment in time, especially when they become teenagers, where you become the dumbest person on planet Earth. Nothing you say makes remote sense. You know what I mean? And the people who are the same age as them are the smartest people on earth. And what are you going to do then? You can't do anything because you are no longer their biggest influence. You know what I mean? Being the best version of you is no longer good enough. You got to be a better version of what they're getting out there. And how did you know? Because you don't know all of their friends, you don't know all of their influences, no matter how tight knit you think you are, no matter how close you are to them, because they don't want to disappoint you, so they ain't telling you about all the fuck shit that they doing out there. You know what I mean? So because I think about that too. Like, oh, if I be the best version, I'd be a good example. And it's like, they ain't checking for me. I ain't cool no more. You know what I mean? They teenager. Everybody outside the house is cool. I'm just dad. So what do you do then? You know
So
what
I
I
guess
mean?
when you stop being the hero, is that a sign that you failed somewhere? Right? If they think you're just miserable with mom, then did you fail at some point? Did you give them a terrible example? You know what I'm saying? Like, especially with
I,
women, especially little girls and their father. Like you're the first man that they love. Like you're gonna be that. You're gonna be the hero. So if you lose that hero look to your children, like what did you do wrong? It's something you missed at some point. You missed something.
I
You
think
can't beat hormones. Hormones wins all the time. They gonna win every battle. You don't win that. So
I think looking miserable and being a hero are two separate things, right? If you look miserable, that could be one way to lose. You know what I mean? To lose that accountability, that respect, or whatever. Um, but not being a hero, I think it's inevitable that at some point you're not going to be the hero. In some cases, some dads are. You know what I mean? Heroes forever. But in other cases, that's going to eventually go.
So the one thing that I was thinking about is we were kind of going through these scenarios that, especially all of us, man, like for us, man, we've kind of raised our children to really not have to deal with a lot of these outside influences, right? And we even talked about this on a previous episode, and it made me kind of parent a little bit different. A lot of kind of the adversity and stuff that our kids are going through, it's not realistic enough. So with that being said, man, I start using like the news and stories in the news to be teaching lessons. Like the lady in Dubai right now who got locked up for screaming in public. That's something that would like it probably wouldn't even resonate because she probably would pop off, and I'll be like, hey, listen, this is why you always have to keep your cool and you have to make sure that you can make it home. So don't go and lose your cool and thinking, oh, at the end of the day, daddy will crash out. Like I can't go against the whole UAE. So you're gonna be locked up for 2 months just like that lady. So have some class, survive the encounter, make it home, and then we'll figure out and we'll sort out what's left to be sorted out. But don't go and crash out and letting your mouth write a check that you're behind can't cash.
I'll even put a closer to home scenario. There was recently a woman uh down in Braddock shot, and I guess she died at the hospital, but she was shot and they over an argument. There was an argument over whatever it was, and it resulted in her getting shot and she died from it. So you know what I mean? Not being able to control your emotions, not being able to be cognizant of your surroundings and understand that the goal at the end of the night is to make it home to take care of your family. That cost her life. You know what I mean? So you gotta always don't think, oh, my dad will take care of it, or oh, I'm big and bad, or I'm tough. Man, at any given time, any fool could have a gun and shoot you, and you could not make it home. So you always got to be ready. You know what I mean? To be able to hold yourself accountable for your own actions and your own emotions, because stuff happens all the time. That's why I stay out the way.
So look, so I know we probably close to the end, man. So I got one kind of final question for Vic, man, and it kind of goes full circle back to one of the initial statements that you made about it's always on us and whatever, right? So being that they're not being held accountable, being that we're saying it's always on us, are you okay and willing to allow these same women that in your mind can't control their emotions and they don't necessarily have consequences and less to lose than us? Are you okay with them having the same gun rights as us?
Yeah. So what I do understand about women is they make decisions based off of whatever their best option is, right? So like we could foresee long-term future. They see emotional needs right now. Um, I think as long as they have something that they can see at that moment, that's a better option for them, then that's what they'll take. So I mean, if you kind of understand what I'm saying there, um, so if I can provide the right now situation always every day of their life that do what I say will best serve you, then they'll always do that.
So all that's fine and well, but that I need you to address what I'm saying. It's literally emotions are running high and they have a gun, and you're saying they can't control their emotions. Should we somehow do something about
Women
barring
having,
them or limiting their access to firearms if we're saying that they can't control their emotions and they're incapable of doing so?
I was, to be honest, I would say yes. You know what I mean? And I speak against it, but that's not on me to change that law. You understand what I'm saying? So as long as the law allows them to had autonomy to make these decisions, all we could do is back away, step away, and move about it that way. You know what I'm
So we
saying?
should also hold them accountable in those domestic situations.
I don't think we can. I think for the most part, the law can. You know, in that case, if they go unjustly shoot somebody, they're going to have to deal with that consequence regardless. They might not be able to see it, but the law is coming for them. You know, in a situation where they might be being physical with us, the law might not be coming unless we called it. You know what I'm saying? So that's the only thing they'll respect. They won't respect us saying, "Don't hit me."
We need to start voting with our feet.
We need to
Like, no, but I mean, it goes back to your point, how you said, and I'm not talking about like kicking or nothing, if that's why you was laughing, but
no.
like, yeah, but like how you said, like they're their best option. If you are their best option daily and you're voting with your feet, as in you're gonna walk out of their life, they're not gonna want to lose you. So that I think that helps.
Right. They'll stay in line for that, like in fear
Yeah,
of losing their best
right,
option or what best feeds them at the moment. But as long as
correct.
they can see a situation outside of you where they can survive, they're taking that. You know what I
Facts.
mean? They don't necessarily care about how you feel about what they're doing at whatever given time.
And that's a human trait, and I say that all the time, man. For the most part, man, humans are about 98% the same. And to me, that's why I think we're kind of letting females off the hook when we say that, like, oh, they're incapable. No, it's not that they're incapable, it's that they're not held accountable, and there's oftentimes not enough consequences to doing so. So that's why they do whatever, and they'll act like children because they don't get the consequences of a full-fledged adult.
I mean, I agree, but I don't think one man can kind of necessarily change that for them unless he is their best lost consequence. Now, if you're just a regular guy, Joe Smo, you know what I'm saying, and you're trying to hold them accountable, they're going to spit in your face like, "Psh, what? I ain't listening to you." Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't hold me accountable. You're not. You don't hold enough weight.
So
But
with
they'll
that being said, so think about it. So the way our society has worked, and I've traveled enough to kind of see this, man, this is like bizarro world compared to what's going on in the eastern part of the world. Like, oh no, like no, ain't none of this going down. Like you
it's
will be
not
held
even the eastern
accountable.
part of the world. It's bizarre world to other cultures in the Western world.
Yeah, they like you will be held accountable.
You understand? But I think the men in these other cultures do a better job than we do at being the best option for our women. I mean, I don't know
I,
if y'all
I,
want to
I mean,
disagree or not, but
yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying, but I mean, like, because I'm not in the business of trying to oppress nobody. Because, like, so for example, I mean, they're limiting, in some of those other societies, man, they limit the fact that their earning potential. They'll limit the fact that they could drive. They limit, like they put like what is that the limiter did they put on like police cars? They're
I don't think
limiting them. So
in no other. I think the gap in other cultures is so big that they understand that their money is a quarter to the table. You understand what I'm saying? Like on the table, if you put a quarter on the table, the woman understands that this is my money and the rest of the table is his. I think ours is the only competitive one where they put up a quarter and we put up a 50-cent piece and they're like, that's still a coin. That ain't no dollars. Like, you know what I'm saying?
and that's kind of my pushback is that if we're going to give them the same autonomy and the same fairness in earning potential and whatever, in order to be able to say, well, any man that makes what I make is broke. In turn, we need to treat them like human beings, like real full-fledged adults, the same way that, they're getting equality everywhere else.
Well, I think we don't deal with, and that's the women we don't deal with. We walk away from them.
Exactly. But they're getting enough attention to where they're able to still survive, because at this point, attention is currency for them. But if you don't agree with it, and you don't feel that it's the right code of contact, don't give it your attention. That's my advice for today. Don't give it your attention, and hopefully other people follow suit, and it'll stop, because right now, currency, the attention is the new currency.
It will stop in your life. It won't stop in theirs, because they'll find another sucker.
But that's fine.
Yeah,
because I'm only trying to change my life.
If a tree falls in the woods and nobody's there, does it make a sound? Cause like really, you know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't exist. I'm with Mo Better all day, man. I think you're giving them an out. Like I think it's you're creating a double standard that's not even. I mean, it doesn't make sense, man. When you talk about that, like they're responsible enough in every aspect, but you know what I mean, being responsible enough to conduct themselves in a manner and be able to control their emotions, man. You can't say that, dude. Like there's a lot of people that's in jail serving life because they couldn't control their emotions. There's still a consequence to not controlling your emotions. It's still a consequence.
I think it's a matter of me trying not to be crazy, to what I'm saying, because the work's never going to get done if I'm like, you do the work, you do the work, you do the work. I need this built, and you know what I'm saying, and regardless if my job is to put the table up and do that, I need this built, and that's my only concern is the finished product on how we can get this built. Trying to get somebody else to, I don't do that, that's their job. This table's never going to get built, man, and we're not going to eat. We're going to be eating on the floor.
Why are you paying? Well, don't pay that person the same amount that you're being paid to get to build the table. That's all I'm saying.
I'm not.
If they're getting the same access and the same ability to do what you do in the same pay, they need to be held to the same standard that you are. That doesn't make sense to allow them to say, "Oh, well, I'm incapable, but I still want to make what you."
They're not going to do that. They're not going to do the same work. They're not going to get the same pay. They're not, because I'm not giving them that, because I understand that I'm going to have to do all the work. So you're going to get whatever I allow you to get. You know what I'm saying? And at the end of this thing,
look,
it is what
again,
it is.
That's you. Ain't that what you said to me? Look, that's you.
Yeah, that's me. That's me. But
right.
I think as a whole, as a society of men, we pushing accountability on women to change is impossible. Like, because you got to understand a woman's nature. You know what I'm saying? If you look at any other culture, they still understand their woman's nature.
We can't do it. Men can't push accountability on women. Other women have to push accountability on women. And these other cultures that you speak about, the shit isn't taught by men. The stuff is passed down by the women. It's passed down by the mothers. The mothers are teaching the daughters how to be good wives, how to be good servants of the culture, how to pass down things for the children. The mothers are doing that. The men aren't doing it. The moment the men start doing it is the moment it starts becoming oppressive. Now, the men might, even in these oppressive countries where it's thought of as oppressive, men are saying, hey, this is the standard. You're not living up to this standard. And then the mom or the auntie or whoever it may be is getting on the woman in order to get stuff in line and get it done. Or in order to say, hey, look, you're going to lose out on this man if you don't do X, Y, Z. So I don't ever think it's going to be on the man to be able to say, hey, we got to hold them accountable. No, it's got to be the other women to hold them accountable. Hey, I think of, you know what I mean? When I think of how women dress and how they do their stuff, they're not dressing for us. They dressing to stun on other girls. They dressing for approval from other women. They don't give a damn what we like. They care to an extent, but they're not doing it. Like, there's never been a day that I said, oh, get those big caterpillar eyelashes and put these, these long old nails on and put the weave in. And there's never been a day that I said that looks.
You know what I think that's due to?
Or this little stuff they got going on here that looks all weird and shit. There's never been a day I said that looks good, but they're getting that from other women. They're looking for approval from other women that say that they look good.
Yeah, but I think that's really due to them admiring a particular woman that does that. In it, the man that woman has approves of that.
Yes,
So
there you go.
They think that they think I can get a man like that if I dress like this person. You know what I'm saying?
I don't think the man approves of it. I think it doesn't matter to him because he sees her naked. Like he don't give a damn about the eyelashes.
They are competing for the male attention.
So they are doing it for us, but it might not be for us, but it's for a particular type of man that they are looking to achieve. And that just might not be us. We're regular dudes. You know what I'm saying? But they see the rappers
type of dude don't care about that. He don't care about that.
Like, so they'll see like an entertainer that doesn't care about that kind of stuff, that lives that weird lifestyle. You know, I ain't gonna call it weird, but lives that kind of lifestyle. And they'll be like, well, I want a guy like that. And they pick girls like that. So I'm addressed and act like those girls. So as we're saying, we don't like this, we don't like this, we don't like this, those dudes up there, they might not like it either. But they're just trying all the desserts. And you know what I'm saying? They're taking a bite of every dessert. I don't like that. I don't like that. And then they're gonna go and get a good old piece of strawberry cheesecake, apple pie. Like, you understand what I'm saying? When it's all said and done. But they'll eat the Danish, they'll eat all these different desserts and just trying it, spitting it out. And those girls don't mind being those nasty desserts. But when it all comes down to it, that dude's still gonna, fall back on the good old wholesomeness. They just don't see that. They just see, oh, he likes sweets.
Here's a test. Next time your lady or a lady be like, that's an average outfit. They hate average. Like literally most of the world is average. But if you said average to them, they would be like it would be offensive. And that right there is the whole point. Like,